Hey book nerds, welcome to my channel. I'm not ill, I'm just not wearing makeup. I've not been wearing makeup in lockdown for obvious reasons because I don't really see anyone. And last time I filmed I did put on makeup, but I just didn't feel like it today. But I wanted to film my Mentalhealthathon TBR, so sorry you get my actual face. Yeah. So, Mentalhealthathon is one of my favourite readathons. It's run by several of my dear booktube, book Twitter friends, and this year I wasn't really sure if I was going to take part because I've not been doing super well on the whole keeping up with readathons or even reading a lot. But because it is my favourite readathon, I did really want to take part. So this is my TBR. I'm filming this on the 10th, so it's already been quite a few days, so it's going up late, but also this is kind of a lighter TBR, or rather a less strict TBR than I would normally put on myself for readathons because that's what I need right now. So these are just some books that I would like to read. If I read them, it's great. If I don't, then that is also fine. So I'll go through the challenges and what I'm reading for them. So firstly, there are two challenges I'm not doing. I am not reading the group book, which is The Million Pieces of Neena Gill. I'm not reading this because it sort of does appeal to me and I've heard really good things, but it doesn't feel like what I want to read right now. So I decided to take the pressure off myself and say I'm not reading that one. I'm also not reading the host's pick, because while they have all chosen really great books, the only one I think I was interested in reading was Turtles All the Way Down, and I did try to read that several months ago, but it has some content I can't deal with, so yeah, not a good idea to try to read that. But yeah, so I'm skipping both of those challenges, but they are challenges just so you are aware of them. First book I am going to talk about is fulfilling two challenges. It's fulfilling the Nonfiction challenge and also the Learn More About challenge. So the idea of that challenge is that you read about something that you don't know a lot about. I've actually studied clinical psychology as a master's degree, so there's still loads I don't know, don't get me wrong, but I have perhaps a stronger understanding than the average person of most disorders. I picked Spectrums, which is edited by Maxfield Sparrow, I think. Maxfield Sparrow. Can't read the font, but this is a collection of own voices, stories, anecdotes. I think there might be poems in here as well of transgender people and autistic people, so people who are both of those things, kind of describing their experiences. I picked this book because it's an arc I have and I really want to read it. I think it sounds really interesting. I'm also very interested in reading about transgender experiences at the moment. My partner is trans and they're going through some stuff and I really want to kind of support them through that stuff, which means I have to educate myself more. I have quite a lot of trans friends, but everyone kind of has different experiences, so it's always good to just read more widely anyway. And I haven't actually, I've worked with quite a lot of autistic people. I used to volunteer at a group which was working with autistic children and teenagers, but I've not really actually read a lot of it. I studied it at undergrad obviously, but not since then. So yeah, I think this book will be really interesting and I'm looking forward to learning more. So the next prompt is to pick the oldest book on your TBR. I'm not actually going for the oldest because I do have books on my TBR that are like 8 years old. So I picked one that is several years old anyway. I think this has been on my TBR for at least 3 years, maybe longer. That is A Noise Downstairs by Linwood Barclay. This is a thriller. It's about a man who was driving home one day and he saw a serial killer disposing of some bodies. He had an encounter with this guy and he managed to escape, but it left him with PTSD. Now his wife is concerned about him and she buys him a typewriter, which he stores downstairs. The problem is that the serial killer he apprehended used to make his victims type out notes before he killed them using a typewriter, and he starts to think that he can hear sounds at night of this typewriter writing by itself, and he starts to think it might be the same machine that the serial killer used. It's kind of all the blurb says. It's got a lot of cool stuff going on there, lots of interesting things. PTSD is obviously the mental health rep in this. It sounds like it's going to cover some kind of the obsession type thoughts that I experienced myself, which is great. I don't know if this is actually supernatural or if it is just thriller and it's all about his mind, but I'm looking forward to it either way. And yeah, so the next book I'm going to talk about was originally my self-care prompt. I had a different book for young adult and for green on the cover, but I started reading that book and I DNF'd it very quickly. It wasn't for me. It was called We the Wildflowers by L.B. Simmons. I just didn't gel with my personal tastes. So this book is actually going to be moved to my, it's definitely got green on the cover. I don't know if it is young adult. It might be, but this picture does not have green on the cover, but the other one, like an alternative cover for it, does. And the book is The Colour of B. Larkham's Murder by Sarah J. Harris. So, I mean, actually those birds are kind of green. This is about a boy called Jasper, and he's got synesthesia, I think is how you pronounce it, which is where you experience senses as other senses. So in his particular case, things have colours. I think that's the most common kind of synesthesia, where it's like words will have colours associated with them, or noises and other things like that. And he's got a neighbour called B. Larkham, and he basically starts to be haunted by the colour of murder, is how the blurb puts it, and he starts to suspect that he might have been involved in B. Larkham's death, and he starts to worry that he's responsible for it. So it's him kind of retracing their relationship, retracing their steps to kind of determine, I guess, whether or not he did murder her. This book's been on my radar for ages. It sounds really interesting. I've read other books about synesthesia and really, really enjoyed them. And obviously it's got kind of those thriller elements. So yeah, this book it's definitely the green on the cover prompt. It might also be the self-care prompt, but I'm hoping to potentially read a Holly Bourne book again this month. And that will definitely be young adult, and that will definitely be self-care if I do, because I love Holly Bourne. But I don't know yet if I'll get around to it or which Holly Bourne book I will read. The next prompt is the newest book on your TBR. Again, I'm not going for the newest one I've added to my TBR because my TBR is always growing. I'm going to go for one that is a new release, so it's fairly new to my TBR. Well, it came out last year, but new enough, and it's one I'm really excited to read, and that is Everything Grows by Aimee Herman. This book is one of my favourite covers of all time. I love this cover so much. It's just like, it's so gay. It's great. So this is about a girl, I think it's about someone who is realising they're trans, so I'll use female pronouns because that's what the blurb uses. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but it is about a person called Eleanor, and she realises that basically it's set in the 90s, and the person who is bullying her has committed suicide. She's 15, and for English class she starts writing these letters to him because they get sent an assignment that's like write letters to people who will never read them. So she starts writing letters to her dead bully. She's kind of struggling to process his death, and it's about her exploring her gender identity, her sexual identity, and these kind of feelings of, I guess, grief and confusion that you would have if the person who tortured you died. So yeah, I think this book sounds super interesting. I'm just hoping it lives up to the hype that I've placed on it, because I really like the idea of the premise. I'm going to try to go in with my hopes not too high, but it is difficult, and hopefully I will really love this. So those are all the books that I'm planning to read for Mentalhealthathon. Like I said, I might add in a Holly Bourne book, and that is likely to happen. So I feel like this has been a very subdued video and it's more, I'm quite tired, and I wanted to film this because I am excited for Mentalhealthathon. I'm also aware that there's a lot of things I want to read this month, and I'm hoping with this Snakes and Ladders TBR and with the Mentalhealthathon, these are books I'm really interested in, but I'm also hoping that I get time to read some free picks as well, because there's certain stuff that I'm just in the mood for. So yeah, I don't know if I will fulfill this, but if I don't, it will be in the theme of Mentalhealthathon, because I'll be looking after my own mental health. So That is great. I might make some other mental health-a-thon themed videos, I'm not sure yet. But yeah, please do check it out, take part. Like I said, it's hosted by some wonderful, wonderful people. And let me know if you've read any of these books, or if you think there's mental health books that I will really enjoy. I would also appreciate some recommendations. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, it helps me out massively. And I hope to see you next time.